Catalina wears the San Benito, the yellow penitential robe marked with flames and devils that brands her a heretic. She is 29. She has been in the Inquisition's prison for 11 months. Today, the tribunal read her sentence. Death by fire. The execution is scheduled for dawn, 3 days from now. But Catalina has one card left to play. I am with child, she tells the inquisitor. The room goes silent. 3 inquisitors sit behind a long table. To their right, a notary with ink and parchment. To their left, a priest holding a crucifix. Behind Catalina, 2 guards. The chief inquisitor, Father Sebastian, 53, gray-bearded, eyes like ice, leans forward. You claim pregnancy? Yes, Your Grace. You have been imprisoned for 11 months. You have had no contact with men. How do you explain this? Catalina's hands shake. She clasps them to stop the trembling. I was 2 months along when I was arrested. I did not know. I only realized recently. Father Sebastian exchanges glances with the other inquisitors. Pregnancy is a legal matter. Canon law is clear. A pregnant woman cannot be executed. The innocent unborn cannot be punished for the mother's sins. If Catalina is truly pregnant, her execution must be delayed until after the child is born. But false claims of pregnancy are common. Desperate women lie to buy time, to hope for a pardon, to delay the inevitable. The Inquisition has a procedure for this. Your claim will be verified, Father Sebastian says. You will submit to examination. If you are found to be with child, your execution will be postponed. If you are not, you will burn at dawn as scheduled. He gestures to the guards. Take her to the examination chamber. Summon the midwives. Catalina's heart pounds. She knows what comes next. The Spanish Inquisition was not chaotic. It was bureaucratic. Every trial was documented. Every interrogation transcribed. Every sentence approved by ecclesiastical authorities in Madrid and Rome. The Inquisition kept meticulous records, thousands of pages, filed in archives, preserved for centuries, and among those records, hundreds of cases involving La Visita de Vientre. The examination of the womb. When a condemned woman claimed pregnancy, the claim triggered a protocol. The tribunal could not simply accept her word. False claims were frequent. But neither could they ignore it. Executing a pregnant woman violated canon law and risked divine punishment. So the Inquisition did what it always did. It systematized. The examination was conducted by court-appointed midwives, usually 3, sometimes 5. They were professionals, sworn to the church, experienced in matters of pregnancy and childbirth. They examined the woman's body. They reported their findings to the tribunal. Their testimony was legally binding. If the midwives confirmed pregnancy, the execution was delayed. The woman remained imprisoned until she gave birth. After the birth, the child was taken, given to a Christian family, raised in the faith, its mother's heresy erased. And then the mother was executed. The delay was temporary. Mercy was provisional. If the midwives found no pregnancy, the execution proceeded. The woman had lied. She had attempted to deceive the Holy Office. Her sin was compounded. In some cases, the execution was accelerated, carried out within hours of the examination's conclusion. The system worked because it was clinical. The midwives were not cruel. They were functionaries. They performed a task. They reported results. The tribunal made decisions based on evidence, not emotion. Catalina Ruiz knew all of this. She had heard the stories, whispered in the cells. Women who claimed pregnancy and were found truthful, who lived long enough to hold their babies before burning. Women who claimed pregnancy and were found false, who screamed as the flame rose. She did not know which she was. She only knew she was running out of time, and the examination chamber was waiting. The law was written in the Directorium Inquisitorum, the Inquisitor's Manual. A woman condemned to death who claims pregnancy must submit to physical examination by sworn midwives of good character. The examination must be conducted in the presence of an inquisitor or his appointed representative. The findings must be recorded by a notary and signed by all parties. The examination has 3 purposes: to determine if pregnancy exists, to estimate the stage of pregnancy, and to assess whether the claim is credible or fraudulent. The midwives are instructed to examine the abdomen for swelling, the breasts for changes, the cervix for signs of conception. They are to question the woman about her last menstrual cycle, her symptoms, her certainty. If pregnancy is confirmed, the woman is returned to her cell. She is given slightly better food, not for her sake, but for the child's. She is monitored. If she miscarries, the execution proceeds. If she gives birth, the child is removed within hours. The woman is given no time to bond. Within days, sometimes within hours, she is led to the stake. If pregnancy is not confirmed, the woman is returned to the tribunal. The inquisitors render judgment. She has borne false witness before the Holy Office. She has attempted to deceive God's representatives. Her execution will proceed immediately. There is no appeal. The midwife's testimony is final. The examination itself is not private. Inquisitors may observe. Notaries must observe, to record the findings. Guards are present, to prevent escape or resistance. The woman is stripped, positioned, inspected, questioned. Her body becomes evidence. Her womb becomes a legal question. And the answer, yes or no, pregnant or empty, determines whether she has days left or hours. Catalina understands this as she walks to the examination chamber. She claimed pregnancy because it was her only chance. But she does not know if it is true. She only knows she will find out soon. The examination chamber is cold. Stone walls. A single table in the center, wooden, stained dark with age. A brazier in the corner, coals glowing faintly. 2 narrow windows, barred, letting in gray afternoon light. 3 midwives are waiting. The eldest is perhaps 60, her hair covered by a white coif, her face lined and severe. The second is middle-aged, 40-something, stout, with rough hands. The third is younger, maybe 30, her expression unreadable. Father Sebastian enters behind Catalina. He does not sit. He stands near the door, arms folded. The notary follows, ledger in hand, already preparing his quill. "Remove your robe," the eldest midwife says. Catalina's hands move to the ties of the Sanbenito. Her fingers fumble. She is shaking. She pulls the robe over her head. Beneath it, she wears only a thin shift, stained and threadbare from months in the cell. The shift as well. Catalina hesitates. Father Sebastian does not look away. He is here to witness. To ensure the examination is conducted properly. His presence is procedural, not voyeuristic. But it does not matter. He is watching. She removes the shift. She is naked. The cold air bites her skin. She wraps her arms around herself. "Hands at your sides," the eldest midwife commands. Catalina lowers her arms. The midwives approach. They circle her, inspecting. The middle-aged midwife places her hands on Catalina's abdomen. She presses gently, feeling for swelling. She palpates the lower belly, checking for the firmness that indicates a growing womb. Inconclusive, she mutters. Could be early, could be nothing. The eldest midwife steps forward. She examines Catalina's breasts, squeezes them lightly, checks the nipples for darkening, for the changes that accompany pregnancy. "Some signs," she says. "Minimal, not definitive." The younger midwife kneels. She examines Catalina's legs, checking for swelling in the ankles, a common sign of pregnancy. "No edema," she reports. The eldest midwife looks at Father Sebastian. "We must perform an internal examination." Father Sebastian nods. The notary writes. "Lie on the table," the eldest midwife says. Catalina's breath catches. She knew this was coming. But knowing does not make it easier. She walks to the table, climbs onto it. The wood is cold. She lies on her back. "Bend your knees. Place your feet flat." Catalina obeys. Her heart is pounding so hard she can hear it. The eldest midwife moves between her legs. Catalina stares at the ceiling. Cracks in the stone. She counts them. 1, 2, 3. The midwife's hands are rough, clinical. She examines the external anatomy first, then the internal. Catalina gasps. The pain is sharp. The midwife probes deeper, checking the cervix, feeling for the softening, the opening, the changes that indicate pregnancy. The examination lasts 3 minutes. It feels like an hour. When it ends, the midwife steps back. She wipes her hands on a cloth. She turns to Father Sebastian. "The cervix is soft," she says. "Slightly dilated, consistent with early pregnancy, but not conclusive. It could also be consistent with recent menstruation or other conditions." The second midwife steps forward. "I concur. Signs are ambiguous. If she is pregnant, she is very early, perhaps 6 to 8 weeks. But I cannot confirm with certainty." The third midwife nods. "Agreed. Inconclusive." Father Sebastian frowns. "You cannot determine if she is with child." The eldest midwife shakes her head. "Not with certainty. Not at this stage. We would need to wait 4 weeks. 6 weeks. By then, the signs will be unmistakable." 4 weeks, Father Sebastian repeats. "You expect the Holy Office to delay execution for 4 weeks based on ambiguity?" "I expect the Holy Office to follow canon law," the eldest midwife says. Her voice is firm. "If there is doubt, the benefit must go to the unborn. That is the law. Father Sebastian is silent for a long moment. Then he nods to the notary. Record the findings. The examination is inconclusive. The execution is delayed pending further examination in 4 weeks. The prisoner will be returned to her cell. Catalina sits up slowly. She reaches for her shift. Her hands are still shaking. But now it is not from fear. It is from hope. 4 weeks. She has bought 4 weeks. It might be enough. La Visita de Vientre was not unique to Catalina. Across Spain, across the territories of the Inquisition, Portugal, the New World colonies, parts of Italy, the protocol repeated. Hundreds of cases, documented in tribunal archives, filed in ecclesiastical records. The examination was standard procedure. Any condemned woman could claim pregnancy. Most did. It was the last desperate gambit, and the Inquisition, bound by canon law, had to verify. In 1578, a woman named Elena Gomez claimed pregnancy 3 times. Each time, the midwives examined her. The first 2 examinations were inconclusive. The third confirmed pregnancy. Her execution was delayed. She gave birth in prison. The child was taken. 3 weeks later, Elena burned. In 1603, a woman in Mexico City claimed pregnancy. The examination confirmed it, but 4 months later, she miscarried. The tribunal ruled that the delay had served its purpose. The unborn had been protected until natural death. Elena's execution proceeded within days. In 1612, a woman in Toledo claimed pregnancy. The examination found no evidence. The midwives reported that her abdomen was soft, her cervix unchanged, her breasts normal. The tribunal concluded she had lied. She was burned the next morning. The notary recorded that she recanted her false claim before the flames. The system worked because it was codified. The midwives were professionals. They were paid by the church. They swore oaths. They faced penalties if they were found to have falsified findings, if they lied to protect a woman, or to condemn her. Most examinations were straightforward. Pregnancy was confirmed or denied. The woman's fate followed accordingly. But some cases were ambiguous. Early pregnancies. Uncertain symptoms. Bodies that defied easy categorization. And in those cases, the tribunals faced a dilemma. Canon law demanded protection of the unborn, but it also demanded swift justice against heresy. The 2 principles collided. Most tribunals resolved the dilemma by delaying. If there was doubt, if the midwives could not confirm or deny, the execution was postponed. The woman was examined again in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Until certainty was achieved. The delays bought time. Sometimes enough time for a pardon. Sometimes enough time for a political shift, a change in the tribunal's composition, or reprieve from higher authorities. But more often, the delays simply prolonged the inevitable. The woman waited in her cell. The midwives examined her again. And eventually, the answer came. Pregnant, or not pregnant, life, or death. The womb decided. 4 weeks later, Catalina is summoned again. She has spent the time in her cell praying, hoping, trying to feel changes in her body. Is her abdomen harder? Are her breasts tender? She does not know. She has never been pregnant before. She does not know what to look for. The guards lead her back to the examination chamber. The same room, the same table, the same midwives. But this time, Father Sebastian is not alone. The tribunal's chief inquisitor, Father Alonso, is present. He is older, 70 perhaps, with a face like stone and eyes that reveal nothing. He is here because the delay has attracted attention. The Bishop of Toledo has written to the tribunal. He wants to know why the execution has been postponed. He wants evidence. Father Alonso sits in a chair near the table. His hands rest on a bronze cross hanging from his neck. He does not speak. He watches. Catalina removes her robe, then her shift. She is naked again. The midwives examine her as before. Abdomen, breasts, legs. The eldest midwife frowns. Lie on the table. Catalina lies down, bends her knees, stares at the ceiling. The internal examination begins. This time, the eldest midwife is more thorough. She probes deeper, checks longer. Her face is unreadable. When she finishes, she turns to the other midwives. They confer in whispers. Catalina cannot hear what they are saying. Finally, the eldest midwife turns to Father Alonso. The signs are stronger, she reports. The cervix is softer than 4 weeks ago. The abdomen shows slight firmness in the lower region. The breasts have darkened slightly. These are consistent with pregnancy of approximately 10 to 12 weeks. Father Alonso leans forward. Consistent with, but are you certain? The midwife hesitates. Certain is a difficult word, Your Grace. The body can deceive. Some conditions mimic pregnancy, tumors, fluid accumulation, false pregnancies caused by desperation, the body manifesting what the mind desires. So you are not certain. I am reasonably confident, but not absolutely certain. I would recommend another examination in 4 weeks. Father Alonso's jaw tightens. You have already delayed the execution once. Now you ask for another delay. Canon law requires. I know what canon law requires, Father Alonso snaps. But I also know that this woman has been convicted of heresy, that she has corrupted others with her lies, that she is a danger to the faithful, and you tell me we must wait another month because you cannot determine whether she carries a child. The midwife stands her ground. If she carries a child, and we execute her, we murder the innocent. That is a mortal sin, Your Grace. Even for the Inquisition. The room is silent. Father Alonso stares at the midwife, then at Catalina, then at Father Sebastian. For more weeks, he finally says. But this is the last delay. In 4 weeks, you will render a final judgment, certain or not certain, and if you cannot determine certainty, the execution proceeds. The Holy Office cannot wait indefinitely on ambiguity. He stands, walks to the door, pauses. And if she is found to be lying, if this is revealed to be a fraud, I will ensure her death is slow. He leaves. Catalina is returned to her cell. She has bought another 4 weeks. But the thread is clear. If the next examination is inconclusive, she burns. If it reveals fraud, she burns slowly. She prays that her body will provide an answer. Any answer. Because uncertainty, she now understands, is worse than death. The third examination took place on schedule. The midwives confirmed pregnancy. Catalina's abdomen was visibly swollen. Her breasts had changed. The signs were unmistakable. She was approximately 16 weeks pregnant. The execution was officially postponed until after the birth. Catalina gave birth 7 months later. A girl, healthy. The child was taken within an hour, given to a Christian family in Madrid. Catalina never learned her name. 3 days after the birth, Catalina was led to the quemadero, the burning place. She did not recant. She burned. The tribunal's records list her case as closed. The notary noted that canon law had been followed. The unborn had been protected. Justice had been served. Catalina's daughter grew up never knowing her mother had been a heretic. She was told her mother died in childbirth. A lie, but a merciful one. La Visita de Vientre continued for another century. The last recorded case in Spain occurred in 1692. A woman claimed pregnancy. The examination confirmed it. She gave birth. The child was taken. She was burned. The system functioned as designed. But by the early 18th century, the practice began to fade. The Inquisition's power waned. Enlightenment ideas spread. The notion of examining condemned women before execution became unseemly. Not because it was cruel, it had always been cruel, but because it was embarrassing. The Church did not want the world to see midwives inspecting heretics' wombs while inquisitors watched. So the practice was quietly discontinued. Not abolished. Not condemned. Simply, stopped. The records remained, filed in archives across Spain and Portugal, thousands of pages, hundreds of cases, women's names, dates, examination findings, birth outcomes, execution dates. Modern historians discovered them in the 1960s and 1970s. Researchers combing through Inquisition archives for data on witchcraft trials, heresy prosecutions, judicial procedures. They found the pregnancy examinations, the systematic documentation, the midwives' testimonies, the delayed executions. The historians noted, with scholarly detachment, that the procedure demonstrated the Inquisition's commitment to canon law, that even in its cruelty, the institution followed rules. They catalogued the cases, published articles, filed the information in academic journals. The women's names became data points. Their examinations became footnotes. Their bodies became evidence of historical process. And the horror, the cold, procedural horror of a system that could systematically invade women's bodies in the name of mercy, that could delay death only to ensure it happened after birth, that could document every probe, every finding, every humiliation in meticulous Latin, was filed away as history. The examination tables are gone. The midwives are dead. The inquisitors are dust. But the records remain. And if you read them, you will find the pattern. Claim, examination, delay, birth, death, repeated, hundreds of times. Mercy, systematized. The Inquisition did not examine women out of cruelty. It examined them out of necessity. Canon law was clear, the innocent unborn could not be punished. If a condemned woman might be pregnant, her execution had to be delayed. The law required it, God required it, but the law also required proof. A woman's word was not enough. Bodies lie, women lie, desperation makes people claim anything, so the Inquisition built a system, midwives, examinations, documentation, a procedure that could determine truth. And truth, in this system, required invasion. The midwives were not sadists. They were professionals. They performed a medical function. They reported findings. They followed protocol. The inquisitors were not voyeurs. They were judges. They observed to ensure proper procedure. They recorded for posterity. They enforced the law. The system was not chaos. It was order, rules, process. And that is what makes it horrifying, because the Inquisition did not see these examinations as violations. It saw them as justice, as mercy, as the proper application of divine law. The women who submitted to them were not seen as victims. They were seen as subjects of inquiry, as potential liars who required verification, as bodies that might contain innocent life, or might not, and the only way to know was to look, to probe, to measure, to document. And if the examination bought them a few months of life, that was mercy. If the examination confirmed pregnancy and they eventually burned anyway, that was justice. If the examination found nothing and they burned the next day, that was what they deserved. The system did not collapse because anyone decided it was wrong. It collapsed because the Inquisition itself weakened, because power shifted, because the age of systematic religious persecution ended, not from moral awakening, but from political exhaustion. The examination tables were dismantled, the protocols were filed away, but the logic, that a woman's body is evidence, that mercy requires proof, that invasion is justified if the law demands it, that logic never died. It just found new tables.